have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order.
As Iraq veterans against the war, we are resisting an occupation we once risked our lives for. We swore to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, but we found out the hard way that the greatest enemies of the Constitution are not to be found in the sands of some far-off land, but rather right here at home.
And, of course, our good friend Adam Kokesh, honorable veteran, I believe now running for, is it Congress? Yes, in New Mexico. The greatest enemies of the Constitution might be domestic. I'll get your comment on that. Jim Kouri with us, Vice President of the National Association of Chiefs of Police. Thank you, Jim, for being on the program. We miss you. It's been too long since you've been on.
Thanks a lot.
What do you think about that? I mean, is that true? I mean, do you believe that? The greatest enemies of the Constitution right here in the United States, potentially running the government?
Oh, sure. If you read Obama's book, and you listen to some of his past speeches, he feels that the U.S. Constitution is detrimental to his agenda. He's even said that. It controls what government can do. It controls what what programs government can initiate. And he does not like the U.S. Constitution. And he, in the old days, he did not make any qualms about it when he was a community activist or community organizer. Today, he's a little bit more quiet about it, but it's basically the same guy.
Sneaky. By quiet, you mean sneaky, right?
Exactly. I think that Americans, and I was hoping that we were going to talk a little bit about this. I was hoping that Americans would realize. Right now, I just got an email from a friend of mine who works in Washington in law enforcement about FEMA getting military vehicles, bullet-resistant vehicles, armored vehicles. And I'm saying to myself, why do a bunch of bean counters need armored vehicles? Because they are transforming FEMA into a quasi-military operation. And Americans better start waking up because the media is not covering this stuff.
No, they're not. No, you're exactly right. In fact, we have been covering that, and I could talk to you for hours about that, Jim. In fact, today on our website, somebody posted video of a mass evacuation bus moving down the freeway. It's 50 foot long with no windows. I don't know if there's chains in there or something, but here in Texas, they have passed a mandatory evacuation act. If there's a national or local emergency, you will have to evacuate or be shot for your safety.
Exactly. They're creating these camps that are supposedly for emergencies.
Or superdomes.
More like concentration camps than they do an emergency facility. Why do they need gun towers? I don't understand that.
And why is the barbed wire facing in? Hey, look, we've been covering this stuff for a long time, and, people said we're crazy. We had Chris Matthews. We were talking about the birther issue before you came on, and we'd like to see the documentation for Mr. Obama as well. But we were told that anybody that believes that the government's trying to take your guns, that we should beware of a mass exodus over our borders, that believe that the IRS is extremely severe and penalizing, that believes that Obama should show his documentation before he becomes president, we're all crazy. We're clinically insane, according to Chris Matthews and a whole bunch of, I guess, liberal pundits. Now, these are the same people, Jim, that criticized Bush and exposed some of the things that Bush was doing for 8 years. Now, you're crazy if you do that.
Exactly. And, it's very scary what's going on under the radar. If it wasn't for talk radio, some talk radio hosts at least, the American people wouldn't hear anything about this.
No. Hey, let me ask you, this is totally out of context, but is our chief of Austin Police here, Art Acevedo, is he a member of your group, or do you know who he is?
I don't know. I don't have a list of the membership. He probably is. He's probably a member of our group, the International Association of Chiefs of Police. We're an American association. The IACP, they have members from some countries that we're at war with.
Okay. Well, he thinks that it's perfectly acceptable to take blood from people here in order to establish their guilt if they're out drunken driving. Now, again, remember, this is a victimless crime until you hit somebody, and that's not, the debate I want to have. But the fact that he has escalated the police powers to such a degree where he's giving even Sheriff Joe Arpaio a run for his money, where he wants to take DNA samples from everybody he pulls over, where you've got to wear a helmet to ride your bicycle here in Austin, Texas, or be run over or be taken to jail. It seems that and he is a California stater, actually, who came here to save us. A very articulate media magician is Art Acevedo. I don't think he's representative of your organization or the majority of clear-thinking chiefs of police out there. And you know what? I'm glad to have you on and tell my listeners that it's not all bad, that there are a lot of people like you out there who agree with what we say.
Oh, exactly. The problem is that you have guys who become police chiefs, who become politicians, and you have guys that stay cops. They're cops first and foremost. The political guys are usually the guys that get the big jobs.
What can we do, Jim, to restore the proper faith, not just blind faith, but the proper faith in our police? And how can what is the best way you think to communicate with them that their job is to uphold the Constitution and their job is to protect the rights of the citizens?
I think you got to keep doing what you're doing. There are a lot of groups out there, I get their emails all the time, who are trying to turn local law enforcement officers into citizens first and law enforcement officers second. For too long, it's been a us versus them mentality, and it's time that changes. We got to stop militarizing our police. Excuse me. The drug war has been a shambles. It's actually caused more problems than it's solved. One of the things, well, say what you will about J. Edgar Hoover, but there's one thing I agreed with him about. He did not want the FBI to get involved in drugs, in drug enforcement. Why? Because he saw the potential for corruption. He saw the potential for abuse. We call it a war on drugs. We never identified who the enemy is in this war on drugs.